In this video, we're going to talk about how to manage handoffs in the TAKT production system. Handoffs are crucial. If somebody said, hey, I need you to make sure that every wagon, every trade is on track at every zone every day, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, Jason, there's so many zones. I do not have enough hours in the day. Well, good news for you. All we have to do is manage our handoffs, which really reduces that focus every single day to the point that you can actually manage your project successfully. So you've come to the right place if you want to know how to create flow. So let's go ahead and look at our sketch over here where I have just a little bit of an example where time is on the top, our location or our zones are on the left, and each one of these little lines just represents what I would call a TAKT wagon, or you can say that it is a scope of work, or it's actually an activity, depending on however you formatted your TAKT plan. So if I told you that in your daily huddle, that as you are sitting around the table with the foreman, right, that you had to discuss and plan for every single zone and for every single trade every day, and that you then had to go out in the field and walk these zones and verify them every day, you'd be like, oh my gosh, no, that's too much. So this is where handoffs come in. So handoffs are literally the key interfaces on your project. In this huddle, when you're talking to your trade partners, we don't just discuss when, we don't just discuss labor counts, we don't just have a discussion. We're always talking about handoffs, okay? And there are three main categories that I want to talk to you about. So the first zone handoffs or first zone inspections is what I want to cover first. So when your train is moving through the zone, so let's say that you have zones 1, 2, 3, 4, and then over here to the left, imagine wagon or trade partner 1, 2, 3, 4. Those trade partners are going to move, and I'll just draw this with an arrow, from zone to zone to zone in a flow. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So all your TAKT plan is doing is showing you where these wagons were in time. So if this is TAKT wagon number 1, right? And this is TAKT wagon number 2, it's just showing you how they're flowing through in time, in a time scale. Okay, so hopefully we're on the same page there. So at the beginning of this wagon right here, you have what's called your first wagon walk. And this is always going to happen in this range here. What this means is the trade partner is going to hit into this zone, and hopefully they're planning the work, building it, and going to finish and reflect as they go, working in one process flow. But the key here is when the trade partner starts, you want to make sure that you check in with them, that they have a good plan and that they're ready to build and that they're building according to the quality expectations. You're going to want to go ahead and do this inspection or do this walk with this trade partner in this zone, at least from the 0 to 50% mark, so that they don't go too far without a walk and an inspection. You want to establish expectations for safety, for quality, for cleanliness, and fix their eye on how much area or what work needs to be completed by the end of their TAKT time, and make sure that they're on track and that they have enough time and that they're going to make it. The things that you'll talk about or that you will ask about are the typical steps that fit within that zone in that wagon, and if they're on track, what changes or adjustments need to happen in order to create flow or to improve our flow throughout the zones. Are there any adjustments needed for labor, logistics, or materials in order to make the deadline? What is your QC process, and is the work meeting the requirements listed in the pre-construction meeting according to our visual quality checklist or our review boards? And are you finishing as you go, and are you prepared for the next zone? Is it ready for you when you get there? So these are things that you will discuss for every first wagon in this first zone. So any work, here's a good way to remember it. Any work that's happening in your first zone for any phase of work, you are going to have that walk and ask those questions and have those discussions. And that again is called your first wagon walk. The second type of walk that I want to mention to you is called the handoff walk, right? So this one right here, I'll just label it. This was your first wagon walk where you went out in the field and checked the work starting in this first zone. The second type is actually your, and I'll just do it over here for clarity. This is called a handoff walk, and it happens when your TAKT time here is going to finish, right? And all of these activities here, 1, 2, and 3 are going to finish, and we need to bring in the trade partners behind us and keep that trade going. So this walk is to make sure, and let me just go ahead and demonstrate it right here down below. Let's say that we're in zones, let's say 3 to 4. This trade partner number 1 is going to move from, and let me just go ahead and draw an arrow. This trade partner number 1, the wagon number 1, is going to move into this zone, okay? And he or she or the crew is going to move out of this area and pull wagon number 2 into that space, okay? So here's a couple of different things that you're going to look at. First of all, is this area out ahead ready, okay? Can wagon number 1 or trade 1 or activity 1, whatever is in your TAKT plan format, is it ready to move on? And are they going to finish in here, which means clean it, demobilize, inspections, move their equipment out, finish their work, leave it better than they found it, so that they can pull wagon number 2 or activity number 2 or trade number 2 into this zone right here. This is how with the TAKT production system we're really able to encourage pull, because we're pulling people in, and the way that we pull is verifying, is the next area ready? Are you finished? And will you be able to manage this handoff properly so that the other trade can come in unobstructed? This is key. And so this is called a handoff walk. So when these happen, you will literally go out there and manage with the trade partners, with the foreman, that handoff so that it can be successful and so you can have flow. And then the other type of walk, really quickly, this is called, I need to write this down, handoff walk, okay? You also have a third type, which is just your daily walk. And when you go out there and you want to really connect with the foreman, you have got to, from the huddle the day before, identify, hey, where were their issues? So the day before, you may have realized, hey, wagon number 1 said that as they are moving into the next zone, there's a pile of materials. Wagon number 2 or trade or activity number 2 said that there is a speed problem. They're going a little bit slow, okay? And let's say out of all 4 of these zones, you know that zone number 4 and zone number 2 are the zones where you need to focus that day. In your daily walk, you will come and you will walk and have a discussion with the foreman and say, hey, what problems can I help you with? And while you're there, can we plan the next day's work with you and make sure everything's cleared out of the way? Can we confirm quality, that you're still installing your work the right way? And can we punch out the work as we go and finish? That is the conversation that you'll have with your foreman as you go. So in conclusion, I want to say the different types of walks that you will have is the first wagon walk, which happens here in your first zone with your first wagons in this range right here. You will have handoff walks, which is when your TAKT time hits and you need trades to move from one zone to another. You'll focus on those handoffs. And then if you ever have just a slice through the schedule, a daily walk, you'll go ahead and have the conversation with your trade partners to address their problems, plan ahead, and make sure they're installing with quality and finishing as they go. So these 3, your first wagon walk, your handoff walks, and your daily walks, will allow you to not get overwhelmed and have to manage the entire site, but really enable you to just focus on where you should be that day. One one of these days, software will automatically tell you where you need to go, so that instead of covering 24 or 50 or a lot of zones, whatever amount of zones you have, instead of covering all of them, you can just go to the key areas where you and the foreman can collaborate and really focus and win. And just remember the rules. Number 1, always work by zone and by attack time. Number 2, always finish as you go as you're working from zone to zone. Number 3, superintendents and foremen always plan out ahead of the crew's work to make work ready. Number 4, no going slower than the established pace. And number 5, no going faster unless you've finished your work in a quality manner and you've gotten permission from the team in a daily huddle. So the point of this video is to say, let's not just focus on, hey, I'm going to be up on level 3 area A and I have 5 people. The when something is going to happen is already shown on the TAKT plan, and we probably already know your labor counts. The key considerations are, what do we need to successfully start? What do we need to hand off at the intersections? And what do we need daily to solve problems? If you need help with implementing TAKT steering and control, we can help you. We have TAKT steering and control boards. We do on-site consulting. We can help you with pull planning, look-ahead planning, weekly work planning, day planning, and the implementation of this system. Just give us a call. We love doing this kind of work at LeanTakt. We appreciate you being here. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.